This year, Americans are seeing one of the most divisive presidential campaigns, dividing not just a nation, but even friends and family. Here's NBC's Martin Savage.
At the Varsity restaurant in downtown Atlanta, customers come in for the hamburgers, onion rings, and frosted oranges. But don't ask if they want a side of politics. They're already full.
I agree that there's an excessive amount of polarization in this country.
Marilyn Andrews is a Bush supporter. Her daughter and son-in-law are not. They don't argue because
we don't talk about it. I have an awareness of how they feel.
Joey Albert says his political problems usually come on the job, especially when he talks to co-workers overseas.
It turns quickly to politics, and then people are just, it's unbelievable how emotional they are about this election.
Eric Townsend can believe it. He saw a political fight break out in church, Bible study no less.
Pretty heated between two individuals at least.
When it comes to politics, the Varsity keeps it safely simple. Just serve both parties.
Hoping it's not going to be Bush.
And that's sort of the philosophy of Peter and Margaret O'Coin. She's the Democrat and he's the Republican. When you start a conversation with your husband, do you really believe you could change his mind?
No.
You know that, don't you?
But that doesn't mean we can't talk about it.
But they may be in the minority. For most folks this election year, when it comes to talking politics, it's best to say nothing at all. For today, Martin Savage, NBC News, Atlanta.
So how do you find political harmony with loved ones? Joseph Grenny is the co-author of Crucial Confrontations, Tools for Resolving Broken Promises, Violated Expectations, and Bad Behavior. Good to see you. Good morning.
Thank you, Campbell.
So this is the topic at every dinner party at my house. How do you do it? Because I have been witness to some really ugly fights.
It is, and this year more than almost any other. I was talking with someone this morning who said her 6-year-old son is coming in and weighing in with opinions on the topic. So it's a really tough time.
It's the trick is not making it personal, because it often does turn personal, right?
Yeah, part of the problem is that we come into these conversations wanting to win, and that makes us less likely to win. If your goal is to try to convince somebody else that you're right, you tend to be even less persuasive. So a lot of what we do during our very crucial confrontations is exactly the opposite of what works.
You know what I also find people doing is when the conversation turns ugly, they're like, okay, no politics, let's not talk about it, which isn't really the answer, because it's fun to engage. It's just how do you keep people like in the middle ground somewhere?
Yeah, and the essence of democracy is a contest of ideas. So if we can't talk about it, we really can't develop a better set of policies.
You actually have some pretty good tips, and I want to go through the list and talk a little bit about all of them. The first one is look for areas of agreement.
So we spent about 10,000 hours watching people in crucial confrontations, and one of the first things we do wrong is we focus on differences. Even during very divisive political discussions, there's a lot we have in common at the value level. If you're talking about stem cell research, all of us want people to be cured, all of us agree with the sanctity of life, so the place to begin a crucial confrontation is with what you agree on. What are the common values that we share?
You also say avoid the personal attacks, and that's what we were talking about before, keep it about politics and not about each other.
We are so quick to use terms like you idiot or moron, and those tend not to work.
No.
But even worse, we think those things. So even if they aren't part of the actual expression, they come across. So if you've judged the other person negatively, it's going to undermine your ability to influence them.
Maybe we learned this from the campaigns, but we all sort of become spin doctors in our own way, and you say stick to the facts when you're having an argument.
Yeah, and we have almost none. What we lack in reasons, we make up for in volume very often. So during our very crucial confrontations, try to be clear on your own reasoning and share that. What are the facts and experiences that cause you to hold the opinion that you hold?
The next one I think is good is just be attentive and not dogmatic, because when you're trying to make a point, you end up not even listening to the other person half the time.
Yeah, you know, one of the things we watched in this research, is 10,000 hours of observing crucial confrontations, is very small changes make a huge difference. For example, saying, I think this, or in my opinion, here's what we should do, as opposed to, as all thinking people know, makes a big difference.
You also say keep it safe. meaning don't let it get too heated or too out of control?
Yeah, one of the misconceptions we have about confrontation is that when people become very aggressive, it's because the topic itself is too volatile. This is dead wrong. If you can help people to feel safe during your crucial confrontations, you can talk about a whole lot more.
And finally, you say, remember your friendship, because there's only, what, 7 to 8 days until Election Day, and at the end of all this, you still got to be friends.
You know, you hope, don't you? And it is important to keep in mind that what we share and what we have in common is a lot more than what divides us. This political discussion is about differences in policy, not in differences of value very often. And let's keep the friendship intact.
Joseph Grenny, it was great to talk to you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Campbell. Appreciate it.